Okay, so another video on pfCentral. This time I want to cover off on the pfSense pfCentral user interface and how that's set up and what it looks like, how to use it. Obviously it's still also in alpha, so it might change slightly, but just a real quick overview of it. And I'll orientate the pfCentral servers UI, which you're currently looking at here. So at the moment I have two pfSense devices running in my home lab, and if I was to just stop one of those, you see immediately no telemetry, offline, and as soon as I can click start and it reboots, comes back online. And we can just click through, add a little bit more stuff to this. Still, again, it's obviously in flux. We've got some interface things here. We can, these are all forms that you can adjust and change. Gateways, some firewall aliases. Obviously, this thing basically has none. Some services stuff. I've now got Tailscale and WireGuard showing in that. A little bit of OpenVPN, though I have none of that set up. A little bit of status. Very much just trying to again emulate what the pfSense UI looks like within this. But today I want to actually show the pfSense user interface for pfCentral. So once it's installed, and I'll go through the installation a little bit later because that is still in flux and I don't want to show it because it's going to change a lot. But when it is installed, it's under services at this point, and that too may change under pfCentral. Now when you get there, it's basically a two-page view, not too dissimilar to if you had Tailscale running or WireGuard set up, similar. So we have a settings and a status. Now the NATS URL here, I'm using this over a Tailscale network so that I can develop this wherever I want. And I'm just giving the direct IP. But of course, this could be, if you have your NATS server domain mapped, it could be different to that. We could even use demo.nats.io if we really wanted to. The device ID, this comes from the device, but you can override it if you want. And it's important that that device ID is used as a unique key within the NATS architecture. So it uses that to make sure that messages are sent to the correct thing. Now the device name, these are just human readable nice things. That comes up in the pfCentral servers UI, which I showed at the very start of this video. And just a way to, the site, this is home, it could be Office 54, whatever. The authentication method for NATS. Now at the moment I'm just developing some using none, but we support basic, nkey, and creds file, which is how I would recommend doing it. And then the pfSense API, which is a third-party other package that needs to be installed. And I'll come back to that at the very end. But it requires authentication. At this point, we're just using the admin, which is just admin and then just a password. But it also supports the API key auth as well. Now, I actually changed this from development. This can be actually production, but where your NATS agent is hosted, and once we get further along in the development of this, it'll very likely be living on our own homepage or in GitHub or something, and it'll just default to that. And this, you could override it if you had your own agent, which I do because I'm constantly developing it, and I'm just building it on my local device and pointing at this so that when there's an update, it pulls from that. And log levels you can change. Now the probably more interesting one is the status. So we have the process, the agent process is running, and it is connected to NATS. The agent could be running, but we could have lost our NATS connection. So the agent would still work, but you obviously from the server, you're not going to get any connections to and from, and that will keep retrying repeatedly. Our uptime, I just restarted this. The version, obviously, when it's in production, you shouldn't see this part. This is just, using a git tag, but the version 010. The device ID, which we have in the settings, which is really important because that's what's used to populate some of this stuff. We're connected to the name of my NATS server, which is a leaf node into on a local system, which is also connected to a bigger cluster. That's just the power of NATS. You can do so much stuff with it. the last time it was updated, which was today where I just rebuilt this. Now these are all the subjects. Now because it's using NATS, we have a whole bunch of subjects. They're basically, think remote procedure call, if you're aware of that, but from the server, you send a message over NATS to a subject, and a subject is just a bunch of strings delimited by a period, a dot between each. So it uses this device ID as like a unique identifier, and then it appends to that string between the dots, arp.delete, and then you have a payload, and that means something. And there's lots. So we have lots for the firewall, the interfaces. There's all sorts of things here. So this is just showing you what is currently available. And again, in production, that might go because maybe that's something that no one cares about, but I have it for now so that I can do a quick scan and see that I have updated the binary or whatever. But yeah, that's the pfCentral pfSense user interface. Like I said, it's a work in progress. Things are going to change, but very likely it's going to be something like this, built into your pfSense so that you can easily see it. You can stop it, you can restart it, and if there's an update, you can manually do it, or you can send it from the server to do an update, which is another thing that allow. I believe it might be in here under upgrade. So if we send an upgrade command, it will basically call this. We can lock that down so that only certain things can do that or whatnot. All in the future, all possibilities on the table. But yeah, just a new update for pfCentral.